Hey there, guys. Right, so we're going to actually be just going through the fishing and lobsters on PV Canyon Crossing today. So a bit of a tutorial for you guys. So, how do we go about doing the fishing and the lobsters and stuff? It's actually very simple. So the first thing you're going to need to do is come into the shop if you haven't done already. Come into your vehicles and then into the boat section. Now, for the fishing itself, you will need the fishing boat. It's 120,000 to get. It does have a pretty decent capacity, 15,200 litre capacity for collecting your fish from the triggers. This is the first thing that you're going to need to buy. Once you've got it, the next thing you're going to need is to own one of the waterways. So you have three current ones that you can buy. You have this one here, which is plot 2, which most of the starter farms have already. You also have plot 119 and then finally 118. So those three will have at least 26, I believe it is, fish triggers somewhere along those waterways, and that's what you need to try and find. So, once you've purchased it, you want to allow it to rain. Excuse me. Basically, what will happen is it will fill from rain, and then fish will be basically attracted to those triggers and fill them up. Each trigger is around about 5,000 liters, give or take, giant's maths. But obviously, I've got my little boat over here. Oh, there we go. Thankfully, I didn't die. Now, what you're going to need to do is basically just go slowly up and down the waterways, finding those points. Now, when you find one, what you're going to need to do is mark it in some way. So, what I did is I always have the F1 menu open. Obviously, I've got one just over here somewhere. Hopefully. Once you get over the trigger, you should get the little pop-up. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around here. There we go. Oh, just missed it. Let's just back up a little bit. Pretty sure it should be here somewhere. I know it's here somewhere. Obviously, when you find one anyway, you should get obviously the load animal. Now, if you have the developer console active in-game, I would definitely recommend hitting the F5 key for this. Oh heck, I backed up about a mile away. And what you're looking for is these little squares right there. That is your fish triggers. But at least give it a try. See if you can find some. Obviously, if you actually look at some of my streams in the past on YouTube here, I have done it multiple times, showing where every single fish trigger is. Now, there we go. So that makes life that little bit easier. So as you can see in the F1 menu, it shows on the third line down, start filling with the R key. So once you've done that, hit the R key, and you got your 500 liters. For some weird reason, I thought it was 5,000, but yeah, 500 liters, not 5,000. My bad. Sorry about that. So once you find your triggers, what you're going to need to do is figure out a way of marking it. Now, Dajnet has already figured all of that out. So if you come into your shop under constructions, under PV mods and others, if you actually scroll all the way across to the right, you'll find these buoys in there, and these can be used to mark each of the corners for your triggers. Now, as you can see at the minute, it's currently showing. Oh heck, an alarm's gone off. Typical bad timing. Obviously, it's showing because obviously that water plane is there. It's overlapping in another object. Now, two things. If you were to place that down, say for instance, oh, just there, I had it. Just a sec. So when you get the option to do it, yeah, I'm not going to get it now. It's terrible. To place down, one thing you want to do is you don't want to do any terraforming of any kind or landscaping in the water because it can cause issues. So all you literally need to do, if you get this message pop up, hit the V for victory key, which overrides that, and it'll allow you to actually place on each of the corners, and it just gives you a way of knowing where your triggers are. It's that simple. The same principle can be used for any of the dock pieces, which we'll get into in a little while. But once you've marked your triggers, just go through, collect them regularly. I'd say maybe every couple of months, just to allow it to fill back up. Now, obviously, as we're done with that, we can now come out. Obviously, we've got the fish. But like I said, there is at least 26 triggers all in the waterways. But once you find them all, it's very, very easy. Now, once you've got your fish, what are you going to do with it? Well, you're going to need to get it processed. So, what Dajnet has also thought of is he's created a port pack, as it were, that will allow you to create an area. Sorry about this. Got a tickly throat. Um, yeah, you can create your own port area, and in the pack itself, you have a little tank that you can unload your fish into, as well as a few other things, which we'll get to in just a moment. So what you want to do is just drive up and unload there. That's fine. Done. Now then, oh, this is a pain. There we go. So, like I said, in the pack, so obviously under the same category, so PV mods and others, you have all of these dock pieces or port pieces, whatever you want to class them as, and you can do whatever you want regarding a dock. You could just create a small one, you can create a big one. Obviously, I've created one that's going to give me a little bit of space for turning around, doing a few other things in here. But obviously, when you go to place these down, you will need to obviously hit that V for victory key to place it over the water. Obviously, I've created a nice little area for a barge to drive into. Obviously, you can hit the little exclamation mark there, and it'll actually lower this down and contain it, making it easier to load and unload vehicles and such. There is a refueler for your boats. There's a repair station. It's not bad, but yeah, give it a try. Play around. Maybe look to loading up a new save game. Just practice to get it right, because it can be a little bit tricky if you do it wrong. And obviously, if one thing I would recommend is saving before you start placing these down, because if you um, landscape or raise the ground below the water, it can cause issues with the boats. So just bear that in mind. Now, obviously, once you've got your fish in your little tank in your port area set up, now under animal transport, Dajnet has also included this little trailer for transporting your fish. It is so simple. You literally, all you have to do is drive to this trigger here, and it'll load into obviously the tanker there. Obviously, as you can see with my little display on top that I've placed there, I've got just under 500. Obviously, with Giant's mass, yeah, it's sort of every now and again it does take that one off. Um, Now, obviously, you're gonna need to process your fish, so you want to bring it over to something fishy, which is obviously in the mod pack as well. PV mods, and oh, I can't remember if it was in here or the tiers. Let me just double check. I should have checked before going live. It is what it is. Something fishy, something fishy. There we go. So it's under the tier 2 stuff, the fish market. This will actually allow you to put your fish into it and then get things out like fish fillet, fish oil, um, and bait fish. And also the bait fish is what you need to create your cages. Obviously, it's very, very simple. With this one particularly, that's where you unload your fish. There's no collision on there, so you can drive through it, but you will need pallets. Packaging for your boosters, electric support if you want to run that as well. But once you've started getting your bait fish, now there is a use for another product on the map to act as a boost, but we'll get to that in just a minute for more the lobster side, shall we say. Obviously in the pack you do have this lovely little building. It's the lobster port, and this is where you're going to create your cages for your lobster. Obviously with it you're going to need things like plate, parts, netting, and obviously the bait fish. Obviously your plates and your parts can come from the big steel factory. The netting will come from your Aurora Textiles, which is the bigger textile factory on the map. And then obviously your bait fish, which comes from obviously the fish market. Obviously once you've added all the products in, you'll get these cages right here, which can be spawned out and then loaded onto a barge. Obviously, now on the map there is two areas for the lobsters to be, the cages to be unloaded and lobsters to be taken out of. There's one at this end, just below field 12. It's just slightly off the map, so don't worry about it. You can still use it and drive out there. There's a little trigger just outside. There's another one up the top here. This is probably the easiest one in my opinion. For me, I always seem to go straight for this one rather than the bottom one, but it's entirely up to you guys. Obviously, set up your ports wherever you want, as long as it's easily accessible, okay? Now, if I actually jump over here, for example, and turn around, obviously, right there, at either end, you'll see that lobster little boundary marking where you need to unload your cages. Now, with the lobster, there is a booster option for it. So if you've got any chicken fillet lying around, bring some of that over because you can use that as your booster to get more lobster back out of it. It holds around about 10. That actually, well, the trigger there will actually hold 10 pallets, so 10,000 litres of chicken fillet, and it will also hold around about 50,000 litres of cages for the lobsters, which is really kind of cool. I like it. I like it. It takes a little bit of a while to process, so bear that one in mind. But what I tend to do is once I've unloaded all my pallets into there, now obviously if you've got a few cages left over or a few pallets, you can just drop them in the water. Over time they will cycle through back in and create your lobsters. Now over here, this is also pre-marked, is there's two buoys right here, which you can actually um, park your barge next to, and right here you can actually see I've got some cages already filled, ready to be loaded. Obviously that is just going to slowly fill up going across there. Now I think it's around about 50,000 as well coming back out, so unless you're constantly putting cages in, you're not going to get too much back out. Now each cage is around about 2,000 litres, so yeah, you're looking at about 25 cages to go in initially. But yeah, once you've got that, you can just use the barge to auto-load them back onto there and then take them back if you really wanted. Me personally, what I have actually kind of set up, obviously I've got a tractor and trailer here for bringing my chicken fillets. The trailer itself will hold 12 pallets, which is more than enough, so there's a couple left over. And then I've just got a truck and one of Hispano Modding's flat rack containers. Now, obviously, the biggest issue I've had in the past is, obviously, as we're moving along, obviously all these pallets are moving and it can get quite laggy at times, is was the best way to put it. So all I do is use one of these flat racks, or you could even use a container or whatever, even like a TLX Phoenix for example. You could use one of them with the autoload option. Obviously it does need to be edited for the map, and I'm just basically throwing the cages in, building up, and once obviously I've got all the cages back out, which should be, I'm trying to think, what was it? I think I had about 36 pallets worth, I think. I can take all this back and unload it. Obviously the lobster can be used as well as obviously the fish fillets for cat food. Yeah, it's almost there. There should be another couple still to spawn out. So I'll leave that here for now. I'm just going to keep the straps on. If I can remember how to do it. Oh, it's not going to allow me for some reason. Probably because I got it in the truck. But yeah, that's literally how it is. It's so simple. Obviously, with it, once you've got your cages, just drive yourself back to the dock or wherever you've got your unloading area, and it is really that simple. It really, really is. What I could do, actually thinking about it, let me go back up here. I'm going to take a little fly through, and you can actually get an idea of where all of those little triggers are going along the river. But I don't want to go too fast for you guys, so let me turn that speed down just a smidgen. There we go. So yeah, it's quite a big trigger to unload your cages and chicken fillets into. But yeah, there we go, guys. Also, just want to say a quick thank you to for watching this little tutorial. Hopefully it's helped you guys. And yeah, obviously I'm probably going to play a little bit of music now. And now, yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.